Hiroja Shipe here with another Hiroja Thought Bubble as we're here to discuss about Bitcoin Pizza 2, another slice. We're going to discuss the Bitcoin transaction that occurred on the Lightning Network in the purchase of pizza with the same individual, as well as some celebrity news, some notorious people in the space, and a few other updates that have been going on in the Bitcoin space. So here we go. Hello, Shipe here with another thought bubble. With a little teaser there, we're going to talk a little bit about the sequel to Bitcoin Pizza, another slice, dealing with the Lightning Network with the same individual involved. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about some of this celebrity news that's been hitting the Bitcoin space. So, turns out, shocker, 50 Cent lied about his $7 million. So, those who are not in the know, 50 Cent declared bankruptcy. He's also embroiled in several different lawsuits. One concerning his television show Power, which recently got dismissed. The other with the lawyers that handled a previous lawsuit dealing with Rick Ross, a sex tape, and his ex-wife. It was, if you were in the rap or hip-hop or even tangentially in the news about that, it was just all the rage for like a couple years, really. And because of that lawsuit, he lost. I believe he had to pay the woman like $25 million or $50 million. No, not only to the woman, but Rick Ross. He lost the case. So he declared bankruptcy, so he basically was going to get out of it, I guess you could say. But that became a subject of some controversy because he would be on Instagram flaunting like $100,000 in cash and then say to the judge he doesn't have the money. So there's a lot going on with 50 Cent. But it wasn't without the realm of possibility that 50 Cent might have forgotten about the whole Bitcoin thing and it might have been sitting on a wallet. But that's not the case. It's great publicity for him. I guess you could say it enhanced whatever prestige he was seeking or whatever, got his name out into the papers or whatever, if you will. But he doesn't have $7 million in Bitcoin. It was done by a third-party company. They already converted it from Bitcoin to fiat already, so, and it wasn't a tremendous amount of Bitcoin sent to him anyways. So, I don't think people are quite roasting him like they are the next two celebrity stories, or I should say, one celebrity story and another notorious figure. But it's just very amusing of how journalism in this space is not very good. You know, I went for the story as well, but I'm not surprised that it's turned out to be false at all. I'm not really. It was just very amusing that it was being reported, and I thought it was very interesting. I thought, it would be nice if, one of these celebrities, whether it be Mastodon, Black Keys was another, and who else? There's one other, probably prominent album release band, or mostly in the rock field, that accepted Bitcoin for their album sales. So it would be nice to see like how much Bitcoin was transmitted to them. Did they hold it? Did they convert it to fiat? What that turned out for them. Some of those were like a couple years back. So I think even the Black Keys, they've done it for the last couple albums. So we'll see. In other news, Bill Gates had asked me any question, an AMA, on Reddit, and he answered a cryptocurrency question in which he stated that it's important for governments to track people's financial transactions because of terrorism and drugs. And currently right now he's being very much roasted on Twitter, which is pretty much the avenue for most cryptocurrency people. Twitter is the forum, and all the other forums like Reddit, Bitcoin Talk. It's been heavily pointed out that even Windows has helped facilitate, drug transactions. If you think about it, really, with all the different marketplaces and ads, and even in the open clear, like Craigslist was notorious for a long time for drug sales. Like within the first, I would say 5 years of existence before it had to clean itself up. Prostitution's the same thing. That's why there's a back page. So it was just very, very amusing, very funny. It just shows the old manness of Bill Gates and how he's really, for somebody who was kind of there in the beginning of the genesis of the internet and the computer age that we're in, how he's just really out of touch, and how really he's not fully involved in the concepts of open source and freedom, and the fact that people shouldn't be tracked for their purchases and transactions and the things that they do in life. We shouldn't be bag and tagged, and for him to advocate for that or think it's acceptable if the government does that is very disheartening, and explains a lot of the security features and issues with Windows and how very cooperative they have been over the years with the government, even though they do currently have, I think it's Microsoft or is it Google? I have to double check, but I do know there's a lawsuit going on concerning servers overseas that is being questioned. It's going to hit the Supreme Court, but we'll see. It might be Google, might not be Microsoft, but yeah. But is it shocking that a billionaire is like that, that Bill Gates himself is like that? No, it's not. Other news. Let's go to the update first. So, update. I have a link in the show notes to CryptoWatch dogs. They put out a video that was just so rambling and disoriented. It was just beyond amusing. They're trying to fashion themselves after Anonymous from the very early days of Anonymous with the various videos and how they were going to target people. Again, I think they might, by default, still cause significant harm and actually ended up creating the assassination market, because there's a lot of bad blood when it comes to the whole Bitconnect issue. And there are ways to go about, revealing people's assets, if you will, or the scams that previous contributors to the Bitconnect scam have participated in, and putting that knowledge out there without advocating for people going out, seeking the knowledge, or tracking people down or something like that. For example, people have highlighted both Craig Grant, Trevor James, and a few other Bitconnect shills through the YouTube that have Steemit pages. If you're unfamiliar, Steemit is a blockchain that is seeking to be a decentralized platform for content. They have a blog type service, YouTube pages, any kind of posting, kind of like a Reddit, if you will, but on the blockchain, or a blockchain. It's still heavily centralized. It's not as decentralized as Bitcoin or even some other cryptocurrencies out there. It does incorporate certain features that are very interesting and unique, but it in and of itself is not completely open source. There's a lot of questions, particularly about the nature of Steam and how people get rewarded, and curations and stuff like that, and the manipulation of people that got in early or bought in a significant amount. They're called whales. They can manipulate the market, and you have to be cater to their tastes or uniqueness, if you will, or pitch yourself to them. So there's issues with Steemit in general, but it turns out that Craig Grant and Trevon James, particularly Trevon James, has $1 million in Steemit. If you were to convert it into USD, that's not the value of his coins. And Craig Grant is saying that he is broke, but someone has tracked down the various Bitcoin addresses that he flaunted on his channel, and it turns out there's one that has 330 Bitcoin in it. So these guys, they kind of made out a bandit. They're not the only ones. There's several other people that are being sued. There's more lawsuits, no doubt, in the works. There's still the issue with Texas, and I think it's North Carolina, I believe, is the other state that issued a cease and desist to Bitconnect's whatever address they were able to cease and desist to, having them reveal their assets and going after those people. I'm pretty sure the SEC is now looking into Bitconnect in itself. It would be interesting to see if YouTube gets pulled into this, because Craig Grant, Trevon James, Crypto Nick, Jedi something, there's a lot of people that made a significant amount of YouTube videos advocating to get into this space. And people flagged these videos saying that this is a scam. They flagged them saying, hey, YouTube, take these down. And YouTube never did. And there's a law in the States here, in the United States, that states that even if didn't only know that the pyramid scheme was a scheme, if you advocated for it, you could still be held liable or criminally liable in that case. And it'll be interesting to see if YouTube in and of itself might get snared into this particular lawsuit for being the vehicle that allowed for these shills to exist. So that's it for that update. Like I said, there's ways to kind of put information out there about these individuals without actually advocating or putting bounties out there that might go a little bit south, if you will. And I'll have a link towards the end of this video about how Bitconnect might actually bring about the assassination marketplace into existence. The other bit is about what everyone's talking about is Craig Wright, who is not Satoshi Nakamoto, but Satoshi Nakamoto. How he's being currently sued by this other gentleman, his family named David Klein, who was a tech guy who was a loner, died on very suspicious circumstances. I don't believe, and I have to look into this, I don't even believe his death was considered, it might have been considered a suicide, but it was suicide or suspicion. There was a lot of issues concerning around his death. And I remember that being at the time when he did pass, or the revelation of his passing, there was a lot of suspicious, and this family is suspicious, but it turns out the family is suing Craig Wright, saying that he stole about a million Bitcoin, which is worth about $1 billion or $5 billion, and is going through the court system. And they're utilizing, and WSEC, who is responsible for the Mt. Gox, like the data for the Mt. Gox, and going through the servers and putting all the accurate information about Mt. Gox and how it wasn't necessarily what people thought, about how it was a series of hacks and mismanagement, and where a lot of the funds are and the tracking down, and a lot of that data was the responsibility why BTCE was taken down in that Russian. I wonder if he's been extradited yet. I'm gonna have to look into that. The Russian that's in the Greek courts being extradited to the U.S. as, you know, the facilitator. I think his name was Alexander Voidich, being the head of BTCE and responsible in funding a lot of different hacks and criminal activities through that exchange for profit. But anyways, they put out a post and they broke down how Craig Wright is lying. He's basically taking all this public data information, public address information, and just claiming it as his, when in fact it's not. He's not Satoshi Nakamoto. He's no association or creation of Bitcoin or anything like that. He's just a scam artist, someone who's being propped up by bad actors, if you could say, or just by people that just, I don't know if they're doing it for the lulz or they have malicious intent, but he is not who he says he is. I don't think we'll ever know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, even though there's been a couple reports about how maybe the NSA might know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. But the fact that even at this point of existence, 10 years in, the identity hasn't been revealed, who's behind that that name, the creation of the Bitcoin, whether it's one, two, or several individuals, male or female, that hasn't been revealed. Kudos to them for their security and OPSEC. But it's definitely not this Craig Wright guy. He's such an asshole. And now he has to go prove in court all this false information and all this scamming that he's been doing is actually valid documents, and in fact they're not. And it'd be interesting to see, you know, what happens here, whether or not this David Klein guy that died under suspicious circumstances, if he was even involved in Bitcoin, if he Bitcoin mined, and if some of his coins were actually stolen. So that's going to be an ongoing drama that's going to be occurring in the space. I'm not going to talk about the current ongoing drama concerning change of proof of work. I think there might be some troll factoring in there. I might do it over the weekend or at some time. I think there needs to be, on my end, a little bit more look into. But for now, a lot of people are having a significant amount of glee concerning this lawsuit. And as much as people bag on, you know, and shit on the U.S. justice system, and there's a lot of reasons to do so. It's pretty effective, pretty efficient, and when it does things right, when things are done properly and right, and both sides have, you know, the full resources, and you have a fairish, if you will, system, and everything goes as it's designed to go. you know, the revelations come and occur. I don't think Wright is going to win this. I don't think he's probably going to ever enter the States, fearing that he has to account for this suit that's occurring in the States. But we'll see. But that's it for the news. Now we're going to talk about my favorite subject, Bitcoin Pizza, and how I'm glad there is a sequel, Another Slice, which occurred February 25th when a transaction occurred through the Lightning Network, and what I think it means for the future of not only the Lightning Network, but maybe we're going to start getting closer to the concept of the unit of account.